all of your different home screens with all of the different widgets and applications. So it was really handy from a user experience where you could put, an email widget, calendar widget, and those types of things, and really get a good overview just from that home page without having to drill down into 4 or 5 different apps to get the information that you needed, very quickly. From that point, it got upgraded to an iPhone, so I thought might as well upgrade the tablet too and kind of keep the OSs consistent, and went with the iPad. Felt that that was a pretty good business class device. One thing I really liked about the iPad is the apps seemed to be just a little bit cleaner. Seemed like if I was looking for an app for a certain thing or something I needed, I didn't really have to download 4 or 5 different apps. Found the one app, downloaded it, it worked great, whereas on Android there was a few times where about the 4th or 5th app, I kind of found the one that worked well or did what I wanted it to do. But the issue I kept running into was no matter where I was going, no matter what I was doing, I always had 3 devices. I had my phone, I had my tablet, and I had a laptop, because there were those applications like Microsoft Office that I really struggled with on the iPad and on the Zoom. Currently today, I've got the Tablet 2, which is a Lenovo product, runs Windows 8 Pro. I guess one drawback I would say, which I know Microsoft is getting there, is their store is not quite as up to date as Apple and Google, but it's getting there. But with Windows 8 Pro, actually you don't need as many apps as you normally would think, because you can download the software. If you need Dropbox or SkyDrive or Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you just install the software onto your machine, because it's a true Windows 8 OS. So you can utilize it in that fashion. So that's actually, the Tablet 2 has replaced my laptop at home, so that at home that's the only device I use. Steve, how about you? You want to how you differed a little bit from what I do?
Sure. So I had probably started with the Lenovo Tablet 1, and I'll be honest, there's a huge difference between the Tablet 1 and Tablet 2. Probably an inferior device, I'll be honest with you. It's pretty thick, it's pretty heavy, and it wasn't very reliable. I've also had a HP tablet running Windows 7. It was just called HP Tablet. I think it had like a 7-inch screen. Windows 7 just was not very user-friendly with the stylus. It was not a touch screen per se the way that you think of them today. And that was maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So it's a little while out there. Didn't really like it. Don't recommend you running Windows 7 in a touch environment. Have had a Tablet 2, the demo that we've had around here. Probably one of my favorite pieces of hardware that I've had. But let's talk about what I currently have. I do have an iPad 2 that I've had for a while. That's my consumption device. We're going to talk about what that means here in a minute. Have a Surface RT that I use. I'm starting to like that device. The Windows 8.1 upgrade to it gave it full Office along with Outlook. It VPNs. It runs remote desktop. It's pretty thin. The battery lasts forever. It's got USB ports on it, near field communication, Bluetooth, and at $349 now. It's a pretty good steal. So probably one of my best low-cost options. But the RT versus Pro is a huge deal. Do have the Surface Pro. The Surface Pro has about half that battery life, so only maybe 5 hours, which is a real drawback. Lots of processor power on that Pro, but I think the problem is with the processing power. So really, I'm kind of if I had my best choice right now and I didn't have to spend the money, I'd have a Tablet 2 like you, Mark.
So Steve hit a little bit on consumption versus production. So we kind of wanted to cover this because it really ties into the different tablets. So what we would consider a consumption device would be more of your Apple and Android OSs. They're really used more for consuming information like music, videos, game apps, and those types of things. Email, where basically the information is at hand and you're consuming that information, you're accessing information, but you're not creating or producing information, which leads to the production. So that's kind of what we see as a huge advantage with these Windows 8 tablets. Because they're running Windows 8 Professional, you can run full Office on it with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher Access, Outlook, and you can create all that information as you would on your laptop. So, like I said in the past, carrying all the multi-devices, I was consuming all my information on my iPad, but I was producing information on my laptop. Now with the Tablet 2, I can do everything on one device, and it's really simplified a lot of what I do with the computer interface day to day.
And I want to talk a little bit about Office versus Google Docs and the 4 or 5 other flavors. There's different versions of kind of Office out there that are free. The problem that I've had in my business world is the fact that when I take a Word doc and import it into my Google Docs, that then I make changes there, and then I'm sending it back out to somebody that's using Word. It's just not easy. It's not simple. Not all the fonts move across. Not all the details come across. That's why I live in that Microsoft world now. Look, if you live in the Google world of Google Docs, I think that it'd probably be a little bit smoother of an interface there. But even then, when you talk about the Tablet 2, really it's a tablet with a keyboard that then becomes a laptop. And I think about it almost as much of a laptop as I do a tablet, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and so, one of the benefits that we looked at with the tablets is obviously the touch interface, especially with Windows 8. I mean, that's pretty much the direction that you kind of have to go to. It'll work with the mouse, but it's so much easier and more convenient with touch. And there's lots of different options on that, which we'll go over, accessories. But, there's touchscreen monitors, there's touchscreen mouse pads, and those types of things to kind of help combat that. And then also battery life. With the tablet, you're going to get 10 to 12 hours of battery life. The Tablet 2 is on an Atom processor, so I can get a good 10 to 12 hours on it. Whereas, like the Surface Pro, it's running a Core i7, so you might get 4 to 6. So that just kind of depends on which piece of hardware you're utilizing. Apps, those are another benefit. You can download all sorts of different apps on all the devices. So you get a little bit more flexibility there, maybe a little bit of entertainment mixed in, with your business side. So if you're traveling and doing those types of things, it's still that one device. Portability, they're thin, light. The battery life is long, so you're not having to carry all sorts of extra batteries or power cords or anything like that. You can do little small Bluetooth keyboards, Bluetooth mouse, and those types of things. So very easy. The digital world, one of the things I really like with the Tablet 2, it comes with a digitizer pen, and I could take all my notes instead of using a piece of paper and a pencil. I can use OneNote with my pen and take handwritten notes digitally.
And OneNote's free on the app stores, right? On all the app stores.
On all the app stores, it's free. Comes with Office, so if you have a version of Office, it's on there. But I can take handwritten notes. I can create all sorts of different tabs, pages. So instead of handwriting something, coming into the office and scanning it, it's already digital, which leads into that handwriting to text. There are some different tools and things within the handwriting where you can select it and convert it to a text format. So we have a few people here in the office that use it, some that don't.
And let's be clear here. When we're talking about handwriting and text, in my opinion, I'm talking about a digitizer here. And what that is an actual pen that interfaces with some of these different tablets, not as a stylus that you might have seen, but it's an actual pen that when you push harder, it puts a thicker line on the screen. When you hold it lighter, it's a thinner line, and when you turn it over, it has an eraser on the end. It's not a stylus like you might use an iPad, because an iPad does not have this digitizer feature, and that's a pretty big deal because it's not the same thing as a stylus. It's a much more refined, much more smaller point. So Nate, I know here in the office, uses the heck out of his pen. He handwrites everything and then converts it to actual tests, or leaves it and draws maps and different things in the pen. I don't know, Mark, you and I were talking about we both have the capability of doing it. We just don't, and it's not that it doesn't work. It's just, I don't know, maybe we're like old school technology people where we're just like, hey, we use a keyboard if it's there, or even use the touch keyboard on the screen.
Well, that's usually one of the first things that I demo almost, because most people are used to a bad experience with a digital pen. And when I show them this, it's true. I mean, if you compare my digitizer pen and my handwriting on my tablet to a pen and paper, it's identical. So it's really amazing how it really works out.
Absolutely. So drawbacks, have to talk about this. Applications, first of all, if you have a non-Windows device, not having Office and anything else is a huge drawback. It will open it in the Apple version or the Android version, but I have had massive amounts of problems where fonts don't come in right, calculations don't work right, it doesn't save right. You don't have a file format to save stuff in. That can be a huge drawback on many of those type of things, and Office has been my key. Having all my documents in the same location. If you have a phone, a tablet, and a computer, you got documents on all of them. Sure, there's Dropbox. I'm too cheap to buy their subscription to put it all in there, and quite frankly, I'm a little bit security conscious. I'm putting some stuff out there that may be proprietary or payroll information, things like that, and so I'm a little scared about that. But if you can really bring this into a one device, a tablet and a phone, you eliminate your documents being quite as spread out. Processing power, Mark, we were having this conversation. You're using yours as a laptop. Are you seeing, because you're running a smaller, low-power processor, is it interfering with your ability to do business?
It's really not interfering. The only thing I've really seen is just from typing a Word document or typing an email. I've noticed a little bit of a delay from a keystroke to when it appears on the screen, but it's very minor, very minimal. It's not anything that's going to hinder what I'm doing or slow me down. It's just something that you notice when you're typing. It's showing up on the screen with a bit of a delay, but from a user experience, the Atom processor works great on the tablet, and I've not had any issues.
Absolutely. Then the expandability. Look, they are what they are. If you buy a 64-gig tablet, you can't really slip in a lot of expandability. You can put flash memory in it, but you can't expand the RAM. You can't change the processor. You can't really, even the battery is not user replaceable. It's got to be sent in for service to get batteries replaced. So you're kind of stuck in the package that you buy up front. So I would buy larger than smaller. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be good advice. Price. Some of these devices, when you come on an iPad costing, at least $500 and upwards of $800 or $900, you could buy a good laptop for that price. Now, I think that the Tablet 2 that you have is a $550 device in that range. That's pretty reasonable. But that doesn't include the dock. It doesn't include the keyboard. It doesn't include some of those things. So you would get that with a laptop. So you're getting prices. I mean, they can be painful.
But I think too, if you compare, looking at, if you're going to spend $600-700 on an iPad, then you got another $600-700 on a laptop. You're $1,400 in, where maybe you spend $800 on a Tablet 2, and you're good to go.
And then of course there's apps. I've now owned apps in the Android store, the Windows store, and the Apple store, and that's really annoying that I have to buy it in 3 different locations. So, tablet as the main computer, we've kind of looked at a lot of different options. I think we agree Tablet 2,
yes.
First priority.
Tablet 2, and then the Surface Pro are the 2 that we would kind of recommend, that these would be great devices to replace the laptop and be your one device.
Then we have a picture of the Twist, which is really a laptop with a touchscreen. Mm-hmm. I don't consider it a tablet. It does have a full-size processor to it, but it's probably, 5 times heavier, twice as thick. To me, that's a laptop. The Helix, I'm going to put, it's in between. But still, the problem that I have with it is the screen is almost too big for a tablet, and I like this smaller screen. The 10-inch screen, I think, is about right for a tablet.
And with the keyboard, it's pretty heavy, so you kind of get into that weight limit.
Absolutely.
And one thing to keep in mind, we'll kind of cruise through these pretty quick because we've got about a minute left, but accessories. With the tablets, there's always accessories, whether it be keyboard and mouse. Don't forget VGA, HDMI, DisplayPort, all the adapters you're going to need, because that's what's on the tablets. It's USB to VGA or some flavor. DisplayPort does not work on an Atom processor, so one thing to keep in mind when you're doing external monitors, make sure you know that going into it. Docking station, so if you want to dock it with an external keyboard, mouse, and monitor, you can do that and run it like a desktop. SD cards to expand the memory, carrying case, pen or digitizer pen, monitor, travel chargers when you're on the road, and then you might want a screen protector just to keep it safe.
Here's the absolute one thing I do know. Every time we get around Christmas, they come out with these sub-$100 tablets with running Android that look very similar to this box. If you want this as a true business device, this is not the way to go. These are inferior technologies, inferior processors, inferior compatibility, and when you can start getting true Android tablets at $200, don't get trapped and spend $50, $60 on some smaller version. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even probably give it to my kids.
Yeah, and most of the time they're running a different, a really cut down version of Android, so you kind of lose a lot of functionality.
All right, with that, we're going to hand it back to Tricia.
Yes, I do have a few questions here, and if anybody would like to add some more to it, go ahead. I wanted to remind everybody before we answered those questions, though, that you can sign up for any of our future webinars and watch our recorded previous webinars in the archives section at nex-tech.com, nextech.com/free webinar. There's a whole listing of what we're going to do for the rest of the year. Plus, I wanted to highlight a couple of events out there, live events that are October 30th and 31st. They're going to be live lunch and learns in Russell and Hayes. And if any of the information we talked about today you would like more of, it's going to be a lot more of those in-depth about tablets. So back to our questions. First off, are you able to upload on Windows tablets to the cloud?
Yeah, on Windows 8 tablets, they actually, when you set them up for the first time, you get a free SkyDrive from Microsoft. It's 7 gigs of space from Microsoft at no charge. If you do not have an account, it helps you set it up with your current email address and password. And you can use that on, in fact, SkyDrive has an app for iPhone, for iPad, for Windows tablet, for Windows desktop, Windows 7, Android, you name it. And the other cool thing that may not be known is that when you have a Word doc in SkyDrive and you open it in a browser, because you can get to it with a regular browser, it opens it in Word, which is really cool because then you have Word on the go pretty much everywhere at no charge.
Okay, thanks. Next question. Is there a decent app that allows you to actually produce documents on an iPad? I tend to use the Notes function, which is less than efficient, to say the least.
I guess I'll handle that one, Steve, because since I have an iPad. So there's a couple different answers to that. I own all of the Apple versions, which is Numbers, Pages, and Keynote. They're $20 a piece, or at least 10. I can't remember how much they are.
At least 10, no more than 20.
I don't personally find that to be a good price value for that. It does work. For Note applications, I know Evernote is by far one of the most popular.
Yep.
Along with OneNote, which is what Mark and I use. And the reason that we like OneNote is it works well with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can import docs. You can do audio, video recordings. That's probably my favorite, but it'll also give you, you can hand draw messages on it. You can type messages on it. You can do pretty much everything you want. And you can save it into SkyDrive. Now, remember what I just said about SkyDrive, is that if you install the SkyDrive app and you have a SkyDrive account, which is entirely free, you can then open up Word in the cloud. Now that's in your browser, your Safari browser. It's a little bit more limited than maybe the full version of Word that you're used to at the desktop, but it does work in Word, and you can be modifying documents very nice. So that, I guess my recommendation would be, if you really want, without cloud involvement, onboard word processing application, I think Pages is probably the way you have to go. If you want a note-taking application, Evernote, OneNote, and then know that SkyDrive is a good option. Tricia?
And those are all for the iPad that you just suggested?
All for the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Next question. Is there voice recognition on a tablet too?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do voice to text, so it'll just type what you say. It will do that in OneNote. It will do it in Evernote. You can do it on, just like you do with an iPad with Siri. It's got some applications, stuff like that, where you can have it record messages, those kind of things. I do find Siri to be a superior application when it comes to that, but it does work pretty well.
Okay. How about printing? What are the differences among the tablets with printing?
Well, with the Tablet 2 or with the Windows 8 tablets, they're pro, so the print drivers and everything is no problem. On the Apple and the Android, it's really geared towards the Wi-Fi printing, so that's going to be in the printer. You get a Wi-Fi printer that will receive the print signal from an Apple or an Android device.
I think it's called AirPrint, right?
I think it's called AirPrint.
Yeah.
And then those will print to those types of printers, but you have to make sure you have the right printer. And most of the time, if you search it or go to HP or any of the manufacturers' websites, they'll list on there too, like supports Apple or whatever, and so you'll know.
And most of them come with free apps that are pretty neat because Like for instance, say that I was traveling on the highway and I wanted to print a document. If I've signed up for, usually it's a free service for a certain amount of prints, when I hit print, it shows up on the printer at my house, which is kind of neat. You can do that on all the tablets, quite frankly, but you have to sign up for a service so it knows where your printer is, and then you install an app. There's also pay apps. I've never paid for one because the free one worked, but I suppose if you printed a ton of documents, you'd want to have a pay app. Tricia?
Okay, last question we have is, does the memory sticks, similar to those used on a laptop, work on the tablet too, so you can move documents from a laptop to the tablet too?
Yes, the tablet 2's got a USB port built into it, and so I can basically do a USB key fob or something like that, transfer documents back and forth. They've also got a micro SD card slot, so you can use micro SD. One of the ways that I do it is with SkyDrive. So I have SkyDrive on my company laptop. I've got it on my wife's laptop. I've got it on my tablet too. It's on my phone, so I can move a document to my SkyDrive and then go to the other machine and pull it off my SkyDrive. So that's one way I do it, so I'm not constantly moving USB sticks around and things like that. But USB and micro SD will both work great.
And the value too of SkyDrive is that if something happened to your tablet or whatnot, all your documents that are in SkyDrive are still there. Tricia?
Great. That's all the questions we have, so I want to thank everybody for attending, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.